Welcome to this presidential press conference. The President will now address you.
Good morning, members of the media, and by extension, members of the Guyanese community. This morning, I wish to engage the media and population on a number of issues. As you are aware, my government has set itself as a result-driven, action-oriented government. Everything we do is based on quantitative and qualitative results and action-oriented. This morning I want to go through some qualitative analysis of the achievements of this government thus far. Achievements that are people-centered, policies that are people-centered. The areas of focus this morning will be situating our current situation in a global context, foreign policy, the climate agenda, healthcare, education, food security, economy and livelihood, housing, water, oil and gas, and our current policy agenda. That is, policy issues engaging the attention of Cabinet. It is impossible for me to go through all the sectors and all the areas of government this morning. So I'm just going to highlight those areas I mentioned. As I speak to you this morning, most, if not all, of the developing countries are faced with multiple crises that have invested in deteriorating food and energy security, increasing poverty, contracting fiscal space, increasing global debt levels, debt servicing costs, declining liquidity, unprecedented inflation, and low economic growth. That is the current situation that surrounds the developing world. Recent statistics published by various international organizations paint a very grim picture for developing countries, especially those who are vulnerable to climate change. The head of the United Nations Development Program recently discussed that more than 50 poor countries are likely to become bankrupt unless rich countries inject targeted liquidity into these countries. Of the countries with severe debt problems, 28 are from the top 50 most climate vulnerable nations in the world. The latest World Bank debt sustainability analysis revealed that 4 Commonwealth member countries are in debt distress. 21 are at high risk of distress, whilst 20 are at moderate risk and 4 are at low risk of debt distress. According to the World Bank, food inflation is 5% higher in 66.7% of low-income countries and 81.4% of low-middle-income countries, based on inflation data for February and May 2023. Based on the Global Report on Food Crisis 2023, over 250 million people are facing acute hunger. The report specifically revealed that 258 million people across 58 countries and territories face acute food insecurity at crisis or worse levels. During 2022, up from 193 million people in 53 countries to today, 258 million. Most developing countries are off track to achieving sustainable development goals in 2030 due to climate-related disasters, economic slowdown, unprecedented inflation, currency volatility, and surging interest rates and debt levels. Consequently, developing countries are faced with $4 trillion investment gap in sustainable development goals. $4 trillion. According to the World Bank, current trends suggest that 574 million people, approximately 7% of the world population, are projected to live below the poverty line by 2030. The most recent joint child malnutrition estimates for 2022 revealed that 148.1 million children under 5 were stunted in 2022, which is equivalent to 1 in 5 children in this age group worldwide. This is just the context in which the global environment and Guyana is operating. The situation around the world is indeed worrying. I'm not going to go through other indicators, which also include developing countries battling as they prepare for extreme El Nino weather phenomena. And this is something that we've been warned about here also. That is projected to cause global economic losses estimated at 3 trillion. So the El Nino phenomenon, which we have been warned about, is estimated or projected to create global losses of $3 trillion. This is going to further add to the existing problems developing countries is faced with. Now, in relation to foreign policy, the government over the last 3 years has worked tirelessly to position Guyana in the international, hemispheric, and regional community as a global leader on food security, climate security, energy security, and human development. Indeed, we had to overcome the negative consequences of a group of people trying to steal an election and derail democracy, where the credibility of our country was damaged. That took time and effort. Our objective in relation to foreign policy are as follows. First, to safeguard our nation's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and in this regard, to pursue every peaceful path under the Charter of the United Nations and international law to do so. This is why we have followed the recommendation of the UN Secretary General to submit the contentious claim of our neighbor, Venezuela, to the International Court of Justice. We have pursued these paths steadily and firmly, and in the course of our responsible behavior, we have won many friends and supporters. Our relations with Suriname have improved to the point of solid economic cooperation that benefit both peoples of both countries, the people of both countries. The fact that both the government of Guyana and Suriname have chosen quiet but constant diplomacy to continuously explore ways to peacefully resolve issues should not be mistaken for neglect. Our second objective is to win and maintain respect for our nation in the global community through our unwavering support for the principles set out in the Charter of the United Nations. Those principles embrace upholding human rights and fundamental freedoms, including non-discrimination, maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations amongst nations, contributing to international cooperation to solve international issues, and honoring our obligation to obey the UN Charter, to cooperate with the UN Security Council, and to pursue peaceful means to resolve conflicts. Guyana's elections last month to serve for 2 years, beginning in January 1st, 2024, as a member of the United Nations Security Council is clear evidence of our success in achieving broad respect for our nation and the influential role we can play in the world. It is notable that we were elected by 191 of the 192 nations represented in the UN General Assembly. This tells his story. 191 out of the 192 nations represented in the UN General Assembly. Then this endorsement could not be more resounding. Our third objective is to gain economic and financial benefits for the people of Guyana through our strategic engagement with members of the international community and international institutions. There is no question that we are achieving this objective, which is a continuing pursuit. However, I point now to our success in the removal of visa requirements for our people to visit and do business in the United Kingdom after decades of visa restrictions. Beyond this tangible benefit, I also note the many economic cooperation agreements we have concluded in a variety of key areas with leading nations in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and North America. These agreements will advance tourism, commercial transactions, the export of goods and services, investment in the energy, manufacturing, and agricultural sectors, the creation of new employment, as well as the enhancement of education and health facilities. Our fourth objective is to continue to advance and strengthen the Caribbean community and the people of its member states. Our Caribbean brothers and sisters with whom we share the closest historical relationship. CARICOM is the most effective vehicle for the joint expression and pursuit of common Caribbean concerns in the international community. Each of our countries is stronger for the support of all the others. Further, the deeper economic integration within CARICOM offers the opportunity for the economic advancement of all in trade, in joint institutions, and in providing wider opportunities and markets for individuals and businesses. Our fifth objective is to develop closer relations with the countries of South America with which we share the continent. There have been traditional obstacles to the development of such relations, born of the experience of rival empires. However, we envisage the time when road networks will open to all of Latin America, beginning with connections through Brazil, with which we continue to explore deeper relations. Our sixth objective is to obtain for Guyana and all Guyanese a place of respect and regard in the international community, such that we can contribute to influence global decision-making for good and better. We have set our feet firmly on that path, and the evidence of our success can be seen in an extensive list of heads of government and foreign ministers from influential nations that have come to Guyana and with whom I have had bilateral engagements. That list is indeed very extensive in relation to heads of state, prime ministers, and leaders, global leaders. I've had direct engagement with more than 70. We have signed more than 60 international MOUs, air service agreement, and joint communique. This success can also be gauged by the many heads of international institutions who have come to Guyana for official discussions, including the Secretaries General of the UN, the Commonwealth, the Organization of American States, and the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization. The world leaders and more leaders are coming to Guyana because they believe that we can contribute to leadership in the world and to the pursuit of a peaceful and economically stable world. My government intends to live up to their expectations by ensuring that Guyana plays a full part in fashioning an international system that is fair and just. In doing so, we will seek alliances and will embrace friends, but at all times, we will remain independent and principled, standing up for the values set out in the United Nations Charter and international law. This includes non-intervention in the internal affairs of states, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and resistance to aggression. I'm conscious that those whose tendency is to criticize and condemn the government at every turn have been critical of our foreign policy, which they claim is not structured or coherent. this claim has no basis in fact. Rome was not built in a day. And the results of our action-oriented foreign policy speaks for itself. I wish to turn my attention to our leadership on climate matters. As I said, part of our agenda is to provide global leadership on this issue. Guyana has continued to be a leader in the world on forests, with Guyana's Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030 showing real results in climate finance, with carbon credit sales for the period 2016 to 2030. And we went back to get legacy earnings for a period we were not even in government. Carbon credit sales for the period 2016 to 2030 already earning Guyana $750 million US dollars. $750 million US dollars. This is as a result of Guyana's landmark issuance as a first jurisdictional scale carbon credit program in the world. First in the world, with 33.4 million tons of carbon credits issued to Guyana. The second issue on this agenda is transforming livelihoods at village level. Investment from Guyana's climate program is not only benefiting the coastal communities, but hinterland communities as well. 15% of all proceeds from the sale of carbon credits go directly to the Amerindian villages. This year alone, 4.7 billion Guyana dollar has been transferred to 242 village accounts. And to date, more than 200 of these villages have submitted village plans with letters of participation in the program and are at various stages of implementing their projects. The third aspect of our climate agenda: creating strong environmental credentials. Guyana has maintained forest cover at over 85% and has recorded the lowest rate of deforestation since 2010, being recorded for the year 2022 with a rate of 0.036%. This is generated from independently verified remote sensing technology and ground assessment, and proves that even with Guyana's accelerated development in all corners of the country, we have not only maintained forests, but we have further strengthened our progress in this area. The fourth area in our climate and environment agenda: maintaining carbon sink status with the expanding oil and gas sector. Guyana's vast forests stores over 19.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide and is a net carbon sink. As our oil and gas industry expands, even with a significantly expanded production level with 10 FPSOs, Guyana remains a predominant net carbon sink and sequester or remove 154 million tons of carbon annually from the atmosphere. Fifth area, or a move towards a clean and renewable energy transition. Guyana has made significant strides to accelerate our energy transition to clean and renewable sources. One of the main objectives of the LCDS 2030 and our climate agenda is exactly this: to move towards cleaner energy, transition towards renewable. Guyana's energy security is boosted with the signing of the contract for the gas to energy project, Guyana's largest project to date, which will create 300 megawatts of new power and reduce the cost of electricity by 50%. And the utilization of solar. There's rapid implementation of renewable energy through off-grid solar system for Berbice, Linden, and Essequibo. 33 megawatts of solar power will be financed using revenue earned from the Guyana-Norway Bilateral Cooperation, which total $85 million US. The sixth area, collaborating with development partners on climate and environment. Guyana's leadership on climate and environment is also reflected in our development partnership. The entire EU program for Guyana over the next 5 years focuses on climate and environment, and has seen several programs already signed into effect, including on mangroves, community livelihoods, and forest governance. Our network with the British government has shaped a maritime economy plan, and the US has been a strong collaborator in the energy and environment sectors. Guyana's engagement within CARICOM on the regional food security agenda is also a main priority in our program of work on climate and environment. In relation to our expanded partnership with the EU, in the coming week I'll be meeting with the President of the European Union to further explore and discuss areas of joint collaboration. Another win in our foreign policy. The final area on climate and environment is providing international leadership. Climate and environment. Guyana's program on food security, energy security, and climate security will be the highlight at the upcoming Conference of Parties, COP28, of the UNFCCC in the UAE in December this year. Discussion on national priority areas are planned for the upcoming meetings of the multi-stakeholder committee of the LCDS, and we are already collaborating with regional and international partners to showcase Guyana's leadership in the areas of climate and environment and share experiences with other forested countries. I now wish to turn our attention to the healthcare sector. The PPP promised in our manifesto for the March 2020 elections that we will transform the health of our people by building a world-class healthcare system built on the principle of equity. We promise that people will be able to live long, productive lives here in Guyana. Subcomponent of these promises include having disease diagnosed earlier, having access to the best treatment available in the modern world, reducing child mortality drastically to being among the lowest in CARICOM and the Americas, reducing maternal mortality to achieve safe conception, gestation, and safe delivery of babies, improving patient and family experience in the health sector. These are the subcomponents. How did we perform so far? As I speak to you, improvement in life expectancy. In spite of COVID-19, which caused a dip in life expectations in countries around the world, Guyana has maintained life expectancy at 70. Today, versus 68 in 2020. That's the first point. Our goal is to increase life expectancy to 72 by 2026 and 75 by 2030. The second issue, reduction of child mortality. Child mortality has slowly improved and is now the lowest it has ever been in our history. It is now 13 per 1,000 births versus 19 per 1,000 births in 2020 when we came into government. You don't hear these every day. You don't see the headlines reflecting these in the media. This is the reality of the Guyana you live in. This is the result of the investment the government is making. Real results, real benefit, real transformation for the people of our country. Survival of low-weight neonatals has increased. Maternal mortality has improved to its lowest ever. Maternal mortality has improved to its lowest ever. It is now 96 per 10,000 deliveries versus 170 in 2017. 96 per 10,000 deliveries versus 170 in 2017. Where is the headline for these? We love Guyana. We love development. Where are the headlines? Each of these can carry a headline by itself. Cardiac surgery is now being provided in large numbers, both in private sector and at GPHC. More than 250 interventional treatments, whether it's echo, stents, angiograms, for heart diseases, done each month at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation by GPHC doctors. And we expect to introduce regular open heart surgery for adults this year to enhance our cardiac service care. This year, we intend to open up for open heart surgery at the Georgetown Hospital. Pediatric cardiac surgery is now not only established, but established as a regular program at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. 12 children benefited from open heart surgery this year so far. 12. From 2024, we expect to increase to more than 40 children per year. More transplants are being done. Prior to 2020, Guyana completed between 2 and 4 kidney transplants per year. I want you to listen. Prior to 2020, Guyana completed between 2 and 4 kidney transplants per year. Now we are doing at least 1 per month. At least 1 per month, when you do the average. Guyana will complete its first pediatric transplant in October and its first cadaveric transplant in November. First. Marcel, these are all headlines for you. I'm looking forward to see the next 10 days of newspapers, only on healthcare. The number of surgeries has increased and is now approaching more than 22,000 per year. 22,000 surgeries per year. I pause here to recognize the efforts of the nurses, the doctors, the health workers. We must applaud them. This is the results, the qualitative results of the investment that we are making. This year, we've completed 55 knee and hip replacement. 55 knee and hip replacement. And we expect to increase this to more than 100 per year, so as to reduce the long wait by our citizens. This is what your country, Guyana, is already doing. This is what your country and your government is delivering for the citizens of our beautiful country. More brain neurosurgery and other specialized surgeries are being done at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation and at New Amsterdam hospitals. From about 100 less complex brain surgery per year, Guyana now is completing more than 150 moderate, from 100 less complex to now 150 moderate to complex brain surgeries per year. For the first time, pediatric neurosurgery can be done for the first time pediatric neurosurgery can be done. These are the results of our investment. This is the real Guyana. These are the facts. This is the qualitative analysis of the investment. CT scans at Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, which under the last government you had to pay for. CT scans came at a cost under the last government. These scans are now free of cost. CT scans, now free of cost. At the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, we do more than 1,000 per month. Free of cost. More than 1,000. The waiting time at ERs around the country has reduced. Waiting time for cataract and other surgeries have been drastically reduced. You remember the last government closed down the center in Port Moran that the government of Guyana and the government of Cuba invested in, that was providing regional services. Last government shut it down. Today, we have reopened it, reinvested in it. And what have we seen? The waiting time for cataract and other surgeries being drastically reduced. We are engaging the private sector to help us eliminate long waiting time for all surgeries. As we said, we're going to work with the private sector in reducing all backlogs in our healthcare system. And we're working in a collaborative way with the private sector to help us in this. Lab diagnostics has improved with a new pathology lab. Guyana is now set to eliminate 5 neglected tropical diseases by 2025. A new school health program will ensure that all school children are screened for hearing and vision and provided with glasses and hearing aids where necessary. A new disability program is ensuring that all persons in need of wheelchairs are provided with same. A new disability program is ensuring that persons with hearing impairment are improved with free hearing aids. Medicine supply without disruption is another key area of accomplishment. So medicine supply without disruption, which was around 35% in 2020, 35% availability when we came to government in 2020, is now about 85%, and we expect to reach 95 to 100% by the end of 2023. This is the result of strong governance. These are the results of an action-oriented government. Transformation of the financial investment architecture in healthcare. The annual budget for healthcare has increased from 35 billion to 85 billion, an increase of almost 150% in just 3 years. To put things into perspective, remember that in 1992, Guyana's per capita investment in health was under US $7. That is, we used to invest US $7 for every Guyanese in health. Today, our per capita investment in health is US $800. From US $7 in 1992 to US $800 today. The regional health budget has more than doubled in less than 3 years. We are also working on the transformation of the physical infrastructure in our healthcare system. That is why you're seeing health centers and health posts. Not only new health centers and health posts being constructed, but we are working on an aggressive program. We have completed a total audit of all our facilities, and we are now in a position to know exactly what is needed at which facility. We have also set ourselves a baseline in terms of level of service that every health center and health post must offer. And we're investing to ensure that every center, health post or health center across the country, at least offers that baseline level of care, which includes, of course, comfortable waiting area, providing facilities such as restroom, ensuring water and electricity, X-ray facility in a regional setting, hospitals. New hospitals are being constructed, and all existing hospitals are being rehabilitated or reconstructed in the coming years. A new specialized pediatric and maternal hospital is currently under construction. 6 new regional hospitals are under construction in Region 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Presently, we have a US $97 million project where designs are being completed to build and construct new regional hospitals for 4 hinterland areas in Region 1, 7, 8, and 9. The project in the rehabilitation, expansion, and upgrade of Linden Hospital is also well underway. The Bartica Hospital reconstruction will begin at the end of the year, and this project will be completed by the end of 2025. All other existing hinterland hospitals outside of Mabaruma, Port Kaituma, Madhya, Paramakatoi, Anai, Kwakwani are scheduled for major upgrades between 2024 and 2026. Oxygen plants are being set up in all hinterland hospitals to allow wall oxygen therapy for patients and remove dependency on oxygen cylinders. Plans are on the way to redevelop the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation with a new standalone hospital, which is likely to be the biggest ever health project in CARICOM. Plans are on the way to develop the National Psychiatric Hospital, reconstruct West Demerara Regional Hospital, and upgrade Saudi, Port Morant, Maikoni, and Mabikuri hospitals. Plans are on the way to upgrade the National Ophthalmology Center and the National Chadijagan Dental Center. These are all facilities that are in the Health Master Plan for major upgrade, rehabilitation, or reconstruction. We're also working on the creation of specialized centers. We have recently completed a specialized diabetic center in Luzignan. We want to expand this to other parts of the country. We are working with Mount Sinai to create a specialized cardiac and cancer treatment centers for Guyana. Nursing schools. We have completed the construction of 2 new nursing schools with modern classrooms and dormitories. Beginning this year, the new nursing school in Region 6 and 2 will take in students. I think as I speak to you now, in our program to allow anyone with entry requirement who want to do nursing to have that opportunity, we have more than 1,200 Guyanese registered in our nursing program nationally. We also have to build a health center on a strong technological footing. Therefore, we're investing in telemedicine. Already 19 health posts and health centers are linked to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation under our telemedicine program. We're investing in new pathology equipment, and we're doing this in collaboration with Mount Sinai. Radiology and imaging technology. Already, GPHC has new X-rays and CT scanner. 14 new digital X-rays are being installed in hospitals in all 10 regions. These digital X-rays will abandon old technology for processing films. Doctor can read images anywhere in the world. And we are linking our healthcare system with health providers around the world. So we have a wider pool of specialists to help us as we develop this modern healthcare infrastructure. We're also working on using robotics, non-invasive methods of surgery as part of our modernization of the healthcare system. For a matter of fact, we have had more than 20% of surgery at the Georgetown Public Hospital are done using these new technology. We're investing in new ophthalmology equipment. At the end of 2023, 4 more retinopathy and cataract diagnostic centers will be operational. We're investing in new neurosurgery equipment to increase the number of brain surgeries at GPHC and to introduce neurosurgery in New Amsterdam and Linden. New neonatal intensive care units for all regional hospitals by the end of 2024. New laboratory equipment to make kidney and other transplants such as liver routine at Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. New equipment to allow open heart surgery at Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation in real time will be put in place before 2025. A new pediatric cardiology program has started at Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. New equipment to permit knee and hip replacement are also being sourced. These are some of the transformative, qualitative results of the investment we have made so far in our health sector. But we can't do this if we don't at the same time expand and improve our human resource assets in healthcare. That is why we now have an expansion on medical postgraduate training. At the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation presently, we have 16 postgraduate programs. This year we'll add a new postgraduate program to specialize more doctors for neurology. In addition, we'll increase the number of places to train emergency workers, doctors, gynecologists, pediatricians, surgeons. We are developing a hybrid nursing program to increase training of nurses from about 150 to 200 per year. A new training program will now enable us to train between 1,000 to 1,500 nurses per year. This program has already started. And not only the training of nurses, but we are also working on specialized areas for nursing. So we have postgraduate training in nurses for specialty areas. These are the things that we're doing. We also have a program for physician and nurse leadership program with McMaster and York Universities. We're developing a management leadership program with international health education providers. There's also transformation in emergency care, in new ambulance service, training of emergency medical technicians, training more emergency specialist doctors, training more emergency and trauma nurses, and of course, more medevacs. All of this is geared towards achieving the promise of the manifesto, that is a results-driven, modern, world-class healthcare system that brings with it equity. That is why we're redeveloping hospital networks in the hinterland, making surgery routine in the hinterland hospitals, improving technology and staffing at hinterland hospitals, offering more medevacs, telemedicine, improving connectivity, building medical warehouses, and introducing training hubs in the hinterland. I now wish to turn our attention to the education sector. And I will just give you a very, very brief highlight in relation to the education sector. We have completed a number of nursery, primary, and secondary schools, as you know, since 2020. The aim is to move towards universal secondary education, now that we have achieved universal primary education. Since we assumed office in 2020, the government has maintained 526 schools or 58% of all the schools annually. So we started a program we have done an audit here to let me say this. At the end of last year, the government of Guyana launched an audit in health and education on all our facilities, so that the result of that audit could inform the multi-year planning, budgetary planning, and we have started to implement that program. To date, 4,737 computing devices were procured and distributed to teachers and students, and 10 smart classrooms were established at secondary schools to facilitate the integration of ICT into the teaching learning process. 10 more smart classrooms will be established at the primary level shortly. To promote e-learning for hinterland students, a total of 102 hinterland students were accommodated at the CPC Turkine campus for both face-to-face interaction and online training. As part of our efforts to enhance and expand the coverage of the Guyana Learning Channel, 91 solar systems have been installed and 1,353 lessons developed and broadcast. This is important in ensuring equity in education. A total of 4,213 teachers were trained to use the new curriculum at the primary and nursery level. By the end of this year, a total of 4,913 teachers would have completed this training to deliver the new curriculum. A 5-year strategic operational plan has been developed and costed that will inform the attention given to our students with special needs education. To date, we have expended $3 billion on textbooks. By the end of this year, all primary, secondary school students will have access to a minimum of 4 textbooks per student due to this investment in the education sector. A total of 87,634 students are benefiting from school feeding, 42,735 from juice and biscuits, 29,691 from hot meal, and 15,208 from breakfast. In the Gold Scholarship Program, we have close to 17,000 students who were granted scholarships so far. Only today, we have launched a program where 1,500 teachers will be doing a specialized course with the University of West Indies to enhance their skills in teaching, reading, and comprehension. $8.5 billion in 2023 alone was spent on the Because We Care grant. These are just a glimpse of some of the highlights, qualitative impact of the investment we have made in the education sector. Now, in terms of food security and agriculture, I can keep you here for the rest of the week to talk to you about food security and agriculture, because this is an area in which we are providing strong regional and global leadership. Today, Guyana has emerged as a leader in CARICOM, advancing the agri-food system agenda. We are now a leading voice in prioritizing food and energy security and climate mitigation and adaptation internationally. We have positioned the agriculture sector as an expanded, diversified, modern, resilient, and competitive sector. With a 150% increase in the budgetary allocation, the ministry moving from 13.3 billion in 2019 to 33.2 billion in 2023. We are bridging the production gap, ramping up production, crops such as rice, sugar, expanding the corn and soya production, high-value crops, the Shade House Initiative, wheat trials, spices, expansion of the livestock industry, swine, beef, poultry, black-belly sheep, fisheries, establishment of shrimp farm, and cage culture farming. These are all new areas that are emerging in a modern agricultural infrastructure landscape to support sustainability and resilience in agricultural food production. We're also building our human resource and institutional capacity. We're focusing on hinterland development to boost food security in hinterland communities, making them more self-sufficient. We have established demonstration sites, supply planting materials, provide improved breeds of livestock, establish processing facilities, increase access to technical and advisory services, assist with product development and marketing. Importantly, we are working on bridging the financing gap for low-cost loan programs that will help rice, poultry, and other farmers. Focus program to support capital formulation for farmers, incentives, tax benefits to facilitate land and acquisition of land and equipment to modernize farm and open up opportunity for higher production and high yield. We are opening up new lands with approximately 260 kilometers of farm-to-market access road, fair-weather road and all-weather road. We have been able to open up more than 50,000 acres of new land for production. We are resolutely working towards building resilience in our agriculture. Therefore, we have invested tremendously in the maintenance of drainage and irrigation system and farm-to-market roads, from $8.4 billion in 2019 to $19.7 billion in 2023. This is the increase in investment in drainage and irrigation, a 135% increase. We are working in revitalizing the sugar industry with a production targeted at 110,000 metric tons by 2025. We're working now on expanding our rice production. We had record production of rice grains from 789 metric tons in 2021 to 625,092 metric tons so far, a 12% increase. Rice yield has increased from 5.9 metric tons per hectare in 2019 to 6.2 metric tons per hectare in 2023, a 5% growth. Rice production grew by 79%. We are projecting rice production to grow by 79% to 1 million metric ton in 2025. Rice remains Guyana's leading agri-export, accounting for approximately 60% of agriculture export. Rice exports from 2020 to 2023 are estimated at 1.7 million metric tons, valued at US $743 million. Agricultural diversification is also a key area for investment. Therefore, we are working on expanding our menu of products and produce from the traditional sector to the non-traditional sector, high value, whether it's the brackish water, shrimp, corn and soya, broccoli, cauliflower. So we are moving our production chain to more high value production with targeted markets. To ensure that this is successful, we are also supporting the expansion of storage capacity in our country. Storage for grains, cold storage, packaging, distribution centers, all of this. We are working with the private sector so that we can create a state-of-the-art regional food hub here in Guyana. We are also working on innovative ways of ensuring that young people and women are included in the agricultural diversification and agricultural plan, creating agricultural entrepreneurs or food production entrepreneurs. The Shared House program is one such program where we have been able to provide opportunity for more than 100 young people. Diversification would also focus on cultivation of coconut, citrus, spices, and new crop such as cocoa, coffee, hemp, millet, wheat, and barley. These are some of the new crops that we have at experimental stage, and we are confident that these are crops that we can now bring into our production stream in the agricultural sector. We're supporting our livestock farmers through improved genetics, investment in abattoirs, the black belly sheep program, advancement of the poultry industry, dairy milk facility to support private sector investment. Livestock meat production is expected to increase by 43% from 47,188 metric tons in 2020 to 67,647 metric tons in 2023, while it's projected to grow by 50% in 2025. Additionally, over 13,000 acres of pastures has been developed for cattle farmers. All of this is to advance and grow the livestock industry. In terms of fisheries, since 2020, we have been harnessing the potential to drive economic growth and create jobs in the aquaculture industry with the brackish water shrimp project. Brackish water shrimp production grew by 500%, expanding over 1,000 acres and benefiting many farmers. Promotion of aquaculture in the areas of prawns, cage culture, for tilapia and tambaqui is also a project that is expanding, especially in the hinterland. I want to turn our attention briefly to the economy and livelihood. I gave you an understanding as to the global context earlier and what is the environment in which Guyana is operating. If you look, for example, at the economic growth estimate, the crisis that I spoke of earlier have not only inflicted a human cost, but have exposed the vulnerability of global food and energy supply, with global inflation peaking at 8.9% last year and is projected to remain elevated at 6.1% this year. Close to home, in the Caribbean tourism-dependent countries, inflation levels rose to an estimated 7.9% in 2022, up from 5.4% in 2021, and is projected at 4.3% this year. The commodity exports of the Caribbean experienced inflation level rising to an estimated 13% in 2022, up from 11% in 2021, and is projected to remain elevated at 7.6% this year. Guyana economy has almost tripled since the end of 2020, with our nominal GDP moving from 1.1 trillion in 2020 to 3.1 trillion at the end of 2022. Of course, this is largely owing to the startup of oil production at the Liza Unity FPSO. Guyana is now the fastest growing economy in the world. For the period 2023 to 2026, Guyana is projected to grow at an average 25% annually. Guyana non-oil growth is now projected at 7.9% this year, building on the 11.5% growth recorded last year. Despite challenges, Guyana managed to grow its economy and put measures in place to reduce the burden of elevated prices on citizens, while at the same time prudently managing financial resources. At the end of 2022, Guyana debt to GDP ratio stood at 24.6%, down from 38.9% a year prior, demonstrating government's commitment to prudent fiscal management of the country's resources. Now, if you look at economic growth estimates, the world is estimated to grow at 2.8% in 2023. Advanced economies are expected to grow at 1.3%. Latin America and the Caribbean, 1.6%. The Caribbean tourism-dependent countries at 3.2%. Caribbean commodity exporters, 18.7%. And Guyana is expected to grow at 25.1%. In terms of inflation estimate, the world estimate is at 6.1%. Latin America and the Caribbean at 11.8%. And Guyana is estimated at 3.8%. As I said, I don't need to remind you of all the measures we put in place to cushion the effect of cost of living. In less than 3 years, we have faithfully worked to fulfill our manifesto promises. In our first budget, more than 200 plus taxes and fees imposed by the APNU FC government was fully removed. The electricity and water subsidies were restored, benefiting over 28,000 pensioners. We increased old age pension by 61%. We restored and increased the Because We Care cash grant. We restored the Discipline Services 1-month tax-free bonus that was previously removed by the APNU FC government. In keeping with the promises to provide jobs, we are expanding and outstripping the promise that we made of 50,000 jobs. Today, the narrative out there is we can't find workers. If I may turn our attention briefly to the housing sector. Total investment in infrastructure in new and existing housing areas increased from $17.2 billion in 2021 to an estimated $53.3 billion in 2023, an increase of almost 340%. We have upgraded almost 69.4 kilometers of roads, with an additional 341 kilometers planned for 2023. From 2021 to 2022, we have constructed 425 kilometers of new roads, with an additional 660 kilometers planned for 2023. And this is only in the housing sector I'm speaking about. From 2021 to 2022, 19.55 kilometers of highway was constructed, with an additional 17.6 kilometers planned for 2023. Specifically, 1.6 kilometers of the 4-lane connector of Great Diamond is in progress, while procurement is underway for 16 kilometers of 4-lane highway from Great Diamond to Craig and then to Land of Canaan. We have allocated almost 23,698 house lots, that is outside of those that were allocated 2 days ago, since we came into office. For the period that we're in office, the last 3 years, the housing sector alone has supported more than 50,000 jobs. The housing investment in the housing sector alone has supported over 50,000 jobs. Given the average price for house lots and the actual costs of investment in infrastructure by the government, an average low-income allottee receives a 97% subsidy from the government. A low-middle income allottee is 74% subsidy from the government. This is the investment the government is making on behalf of the people. Every time someone is allocated a house lot, that is a share of investment the government is putting in on your behalf to give you an asset that carries a higher net value, that increases your own net value, and of course, work as a catalyst for wealth creation. I now want to turn our attention briefly to the water sector. As you know, there are a number of goals we set ourselves in the water sector. That is sustainable water management, water infrastructure, and access to a safe, reliable, and affordable supply of water, and adequate sanitation services to improve living standards. That was goal 1. Goal 2, sustainable water supply is also an essential driver of the government's low-carbon growth strategy for sustainable development. Goal 3, Guyana Water and Sanitation Sector Strategic Plan 2021-2025 aims to increase access to potable water supply to 100%, increase treated water coverage from 52 to 90%, reduce water losses, non-revenue water, and the modernization of the wastewater and sanitation infrastructure. Goal 4, government's ambition is to achieve the United Nations SDG Goal 6 before 2030. Goal 6 is to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. How are we performing? Government, in pursuit of achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, specifically SDG 6, to ensure availability and sustainable management of water sanitation for all, has invested since 2020 more than $27 billion in this sector. Under the Public Sector Investment Program for the potable water supply sector from 2020 to date, government has provided the following resources. Coastal Water Supply Program, $19 billion. Hinterland Water Supply Program, $2.9 billion. Urban Water and Sewage Program, more than $3.7 billion. We've invested heavily in the implementation of a US $200 million coastal water treatment program. This investment will provide improved water quality and service and level of service to 260,000 persons, or 65,000 households. This will be achieved through the following intervention. Construction of 13 new water treatment plants with production capacity of between 2 to 12 megaliters per day in Region 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Upgrade of 12 existing treatment plants in Region 3, 4, 5, and 6. Expansion and upgrade of transmission and distribution system within 25 water systems connected to the treatment plants, and procurement and installation of 10 small water treatment plants using inline systems. More than 30,000 residents gain access to potable water supply for the first time. These are new residents, new persons who have benefited from the investment in the water sector. To achieve the reduction in the gap in access between coastal and hinterland community, we have procured 3 new drill rigs between 2020 and 2022. Communities in all 10 administrative regions of Guyana receive improved and increased access to safe water supply through the installation of new mains, upgrade of aged and existing infrastructure, and drilling of more than 30 new wells, which now brings the total number of public wells to more than 300 nationwide. Government is committed to drill more than 30 new hinterland wells, along with the installation of an appropriate number of PV systems. Currently, Government of Guyana is seeking funding for the construction of a major wastewater treatment facility in the city of Georgetown. The improvement in the social and economic well-being of the population. The government has seen it prudent to reduce the financial impact on our citizens. As a result, the imposition of value-added tax on potable water has been removed in 2020. You'll recall that the previous government, the last government, imposed VAT on water. We removed that. Over 28,000 pensioners are receiving free water supply for up to 10 cubic meters of water per month. And this relief is being fully subsidized by the government to the tune of $523 million Guyana dollars. In 2021, the Government of Guyana's most comprehensive initiative in the potable water sector is to reduce the hardship that citizens and business face alike, was to reduce water tariff across all categories of customer. In COVID, in the global financial distress, this government has reduced water tariff across all categories of customers. 178,000 customers would have benefited from that 5% reduction. This has provided an estimated $260 million annually in disposable income back to the citizens. Under our major public sector investment program, 2020 to 2022, we have improved access and quality of service of potable water supply. The government has expended in excess of $10 billion to support the expansion of water distribution system, drilling of new wells. We have also provided over 10,000 new service connections during this period. We have completed drilling of 2 new wells utilizing in-house capacity. So not only are we expanding, but we are building our in-house capacity and capability. And we have been able to complete 2 new wells using our in-house capability and capacity. In urban water, over 50,000 residents would have benefited from improved service delivery and quality as a direct result of the execution of an investment of $410 million, one of which you have seen in Church Street. This saw over 35% of city residents benefiting from improved water quality and service levels. In the hinterland, because equity is important for this government, in the hinterland and riverine communities, some 20 new wells and water systems have been completed. New wells and distribution networks were completed in many communities, in Region 8, Region 1, Region 9, Region 7. The proportion of the hinterland population with access to potable water has significantly increased to 75% as I speak to you. One of the major global issues in terms of water is groundwater resources. That is why we are now also working on the full implementation of our IWRM, that is the Integrated Water Resource Management System, which would seek to utilize more efficiently our surface water. There are some low-hanging fruits for us that we have completed studies in ensuring we bring this fresh water into the production capacity. In Region 4, for example, we have the East Demnara Water Conservancy, the Hope Canal. A feasibility study has been completed indicating the viability of the Hope Canal as a potable water source from Coven John to Cane Grove on the east coast of Demnara. In Region 7, the Bartica 5 Miles Creek. A study was completed to use the 5 Miles Creek as a potential source of water to serve the 5 Miles and 4 Miles community in Bartica. In Region 10, the West Watuka Conservancy. The West Watuka Conservancy has excellent water quality, and a project is currently being implemented to use the water as an alternative source to the Demnara River to supply potable water to the residents of Linden. This will reduce the dependency on chemical use by 80% in the region's water supply system. If I may briefly touch on some issues on oil and gas. Guyana total recoverable reserves are over 11 billion barrels. Crude oil reserves have been ranked 17 in the world and 3rd in Latin America as I speak. Increased production of our medium sweet grade crude with low sulfur content has government revenue projected to be US 10 billion annually by the end of the decade. Our natural resource fund, as you know, is growing, and we are looking to the modernization of our country, health, education, agriculture, and the fueling of the new economy and expansion of the economy from revenues from the oil and gas sector. Currently, Guyana crude oil production, which includes the Liza Unity and Liza Destiny, averages about 400 barrels per day. Our oil projection, if goals are met, production from Stabroek would average 1.2 million barrels per day by the end of 2027. Now, our legislative agenda. We have 77 pieces of legislation presented to the National Assembly from September 2020 to present, and 70 have been fully enacted of the 77 that were presented. Now, I just want to highlight to you some areas of policy that is actively under consideration by the Cabinet. We are now looking at our national policy on solid waste and the new solid waste management bill, a national zoning plan, new regional and urban planning framework, master plan to achieve universal secondary education. And on this note, commencing from September, Spanish will now become compulsory in our school system. Our national infrastructure master plan, the reformulation of the integrated water resource management system, framework for a national consultation on updating the poverty reduction strategy as an input to the national prosperity plan, conceptual discussion on a national gas strategy, the regional food hub, the regional energy hub, repositioning traditional sector to more value added, the conceptual work on the national manpower master plan, community safety response infrastructure, And this community safety response infrastructure includes the CDC, fire, creating back a volunteer group to support a fire brigade back into communities, the community policing group, and finalization of the National Border Patrol unit role so that we can move towards implementation. In addition to these issues, our intention is to have all the members of the Public Service Commission sworn in before the end of this week. This will pave the way for the full complement of members for the Judicial Service Commission and for the commencement of work from the Judicial Service Commission, and also the full complement of members for the Police Service Commission. In terms of constitutional reform, we are working towards having the consultation mechanism, the consultation work in terms of constitutional reform commence during the last quarter of this year. So work on the consultation to commence during the last quarter of this year. In the intervening period, we'll be setting the system in place and having the process launch to have different stakeholders nominated, or nominees from different stakeholders, so that we can commence preparatory work for the consultations. Thank you very much.
and are at various stages of implementing their projects. The third aspect of our climate agenda. Creating strong environmental credentials. Guyana has maintained forest cover at over 85% and has recorded the year 2022 with a rate of 0.036%. This is generated from independently verified remote sensing technology and ground assessment, and proves that even with Guyana's accelerated development in all corners of the country, stores over 19.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide and is a net carbon sink. As our oil and gas industry expands, even with a significantly expanded production level